Venezuela's opposition leader arrives in Spain claiming asylum. He tells his supporters, "We will continue to fight." Jordan launches an investigation into the killing of 3 Israelis at a border crossing to the occupied West Bank. Typhoon Yagi rips through northern Vietnam, leaving at least 21 dead and more than 229 others injured. And fireworks light up the night sky, bringing the Paralympics and Paris's Summer of Sport to a close. Algeria's incumbent president, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has won a second 5-year term in office. He won 94% of the votes in Saturday's election. The 78-year-old is backed by the military and was widely expected to win. His main rival, Abdel Ali Hassani, gained 3% of the votes. His campaign team says it had reported election irregularities. And the socialist candidate, Youssouf Ouchiche, won 2% of the votes cast. Algeria's election authority announced voter turnout was just 48%. Bangladesh's interim leader, Mohamed Yunus, has called for the rapid resettlement of Rohingya Muslims in a third country. Some 8,000 more Rohingya have arrived in Bangladesh in recent months as fighting intensifies in neighbouring Myanmar between the military junta and ethnic militia. The new arrivals add to the more than 1 million Rohingya already living in overcrowded camps in Bangladesh. A pastor from the Philippines, wanted in the United States on child sex trafficking charges, has been arrested following a police manhunt involving 2,000 officers. Apollo Quiboloy, an influential televangelist, had been found inside his compound in Davao City. The U.S. Justice Department charged him 3 years ago with the sex trafficking of girls and women. He also faces similar charges in the Philippines. At least 11 people have died in southern Morocco after exceptionally heavy rainfall. 14 others are missing in Tata province. Several houses have been washed away and roads damaged by flash floods. The country's weather service said the region had been suffering from drought for 6 years. In neighbouring Algeria, the authorities have sent 114 emergency services personnel, including divers and rugged terrain specialists, to the western Saharan province of Bichar. Now, the Paralympics have drawn to a close with a lavish closing ceremony in Paris. China topped the medal table with Great Britain second. Nikki Schiller has more.
So the Paris Paralympics are over. 11 days of competition ended with a spectacular closing ceremony in the Stade de France, celebrating the over 4,000 athletes who took part in 22 different sports, although some of them having to wear ponchos thanks to the French weather. There was also a celebration of Parisian nightlife with 24 different artists from the electronic music scene performing. But in the end, the night was really for the athletes. Amongst the medals on the final day of competition, the Netherlands beat the United States to retain their title in the women's wheelchair basketball. Folashade Oluwafunmilayo of Nigeria won gold in the women's over 86-kilogram powerlifting with a world record. And the final gold medal went to Iran. Ahmad Aminzadeh took gold in the men's over 107-kilo powerlifting. And this is how the final medal table ended. China streets ahead of anyone else on 220 medals. Of those, 94 were gold. Great Britain was second with 49 golds, and the United States came in third. Now, the host France, they came eighth, their best performance in 20 years. And the French sports minister not only hailed the sporting achievement, but also highlighted the impact the Games had on French society.
La qualité de l'expérience dans les transports en commun, etc. The quality of the experience in public transport, etc., means that now, when people with disabilities get into a taxi or a restaurant, the perception and the welcome of each person will no longer be the same. So that's the Paralympic revolution we're talking about. It's a social revolution.
At least 48 people were killed on Sunday when a fuel tanker truck exploded after colliding with another truck carrying passengers and cattle in north-central Nigeria. The crash sparked a powerful blast that engulfed both vehicles as well as several others nearby. Vietnam's government says at least 24 people have been killed after Typhoon Yagi triggered landslides and floods in the north. Nearly 300 people were injured, and there is more flooding to come. The typhoon is Asia's most powerful storm this year and has disrupted power supplies and telecommunications in several regions. Acclaimed British-based guitarist Herbie Flowers, who worked with the likes of David Bowie, Paul McCartney and Sir Elton John, has died aged 86. Flowers played bass in a pop group Blue Mink and rock band T-Rex and is thought to have contributed to more than 500 hit albums by the end of the 1970s.
And more than 30,000 stories of how COVID impacted health workers, patients and their families will be used as evidence in the latest phase of the COVID inquiry, which begins today.
Great Ormond Street Hospital orders a review into the work of a surgeon and admits some children have been harmed.
Leaders of two major unions call on the government to scrap plans to cut the winter fuel payments for millions of pensioners.
Let's have a look at this morning's newspapers, starting with The Times. Their front page says the Prime Minister has insisted that pensioners will be able to afford the loss of winter fuel payments, adding, though, that up to 50 MPs are thought to be struggling to support the policy.
It's going to be a really big story this week, isn't it? The Guardian also leading with winter fuel payments, saying sources have told the paper today that dozens of MPs are considering abstaining or being absent for that vote tomorrow, rather than rebelling and voting against.
Telegraph has NHS in decline for the first time in 50 years. It's referring to a report expected to be published on Thursday this week, which was commissioned by the government. The paper says it will highlight failures in the most basic care.
Taking a look inside the papers now, and some of them have a picture of a sculpture with a twist, literally. Look at this.
Oh, is that a sculpture? Is that a boat?
It's a canal boat that's got all loopy, hasn't it? This is on the Sheffield and Tinsley Canal. On the side of this 6-metre tall artwork, it's called The Industry, so called after the first vessel to travel down the canal when it opened back in 1819.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Absolutely gorgeous. And what have we got? What else have we got inside the papers today, John?
There are loads of food stories this morning. Have you seen the Times are reporting that apparently there's been a revival in crisps? 1990s
they never
crisps
went away,
are back.
John.
Things like Frazzles, chipsticks, Skips, other crisps are available.
Love a Frazzle.
That they're all back. I was wondering because maybe they're kind of slightly lower calorie than some of the other more modern cheese.
It can't be health related. It's just because they taste nice.
Well, apparently sales of how do you account for this? Sales of some of them up by nearly 50% in a year.
TikTok. I blame everything on TikTok. It's got to be like people rediscovering them, younger people maybe not knowing what a Frazzle was or a Skip.
Apparently, Nigella Lawson, very posh TV chef, is behind this. She says she has a crisp cauldron in her kitchen.
Of course she does.
Bags of banned things.
A crisp cauldron. Yeah. Not for making them.
No, just
for the bags.
Them secretly. Nobody knows where it is. I love these. Oh, there's another story in the Times today about excuses for being late for school.
Go on. Food-related.
But kind of new excuses. Like somebody said that their child put blue food dye on a waffle over the weekend instead of syrup, and they were late because they had to scrape it off the blue stuff.
That's a good one.
And somebody else said their nan took the children to the wrong school. That's why they were late, yeah. And somebody else said that lots of teachers saying that kids are going to Greggs to pick up their breakfast, and early morning visits to Greggs are now a top reason for being late for school. Because lots of people like to have a pasty for breakfast, don't they, John? They do. And anytime. Have you got any pasty-related news for us here this morning to share with everyone at home? I can share with you some news that I took part in a baking competition over the weekend in a village show. That is my cheese and onion pasty. You made that? I made it. Go on, talk us through that. Hang on. You might be able to spot a rosette in the bottom left of the picture, Sally. John, look at you. What's the number on the rosette, Sal? Did you win? I won it. You won first prize in a baking competition. And contrary to my children's speculation, there were other people taking part in it.
Are you sure?
I think there were about 10, maybe 12.
Can you tell? Oh, who's that?
That's me.
Who's that holding your passport? Is that you in disguise?
I'm not sure they actually tried it. Because it was cut open and looked at, but I don't think there was any evidence.
Yeah, there's no bite marks, John. No one's taken a bite out of it.
Which
it was just
might
it looked
explain a lot. But yeah, I think proudest moment of my weekend, my life. Probably.
But I'm interested. What was the category that you entered?
It was the men-only baking competition.
Men only.
Yeah.
Baking pasties.
Yeah, it was specified cheese and onion pasty. Yeah.
Oh, so only men, and you could only make a cheese and onion pasty.
It's very, very strict.
And how many people did enter
get a little praise would be nice.
Sorry, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Anyway, you didn't bring any in.
Well, no, because the other two that I made were so disgusting, they went straight in the bin. That one survived.
Congratulations. And to any other men who entered the cheese and onion pasty competition, I'm really sorry. You were obviously beaten by our baking genius.
Baking genius. I'll make you one day.
Starting from tomorrow, the government plans to release around 5,500 prisoners early to free up jail space. Non-violent and non-sexual offenders will start being let out after serving 40% of their sentence. BBC London's been looking at what work opportunities are currently available for former prisoners and has spoken to one who says opportunities offered by businesses are a lifeline.
They spoke to me and gave me options, and that's where they brought up Iceland. Delivery driver, I didn't mind the sound of it, and it's local to me. It's only 10 minutes. It did feel good. It made the future look a bit better. For a lot of people, I can see it being a big lifeline.
Next, young people from North Kensington say they will keep fighting for justice for the 72 lives lost in the Grenfell Tower fire. 18 children died as a result of the fire 7 years ago. Last week, the final report of the long-awaited public inquiry concluded it was an avoidable tragedy. Some of those who were children at the time of the fire have become involved in campaigning.
We're going into university, we're going into the real world now. I think it's an important moment for us to come forward and, you know, to speak about the way we were treated as children, to speak about the way it is for us now as well.
They're listening, but are they hearing us? Are they going to do something about it? You know, it's not enough to just say, yeah, we understand you.
Now, some residents in Chingford took up the art of weaving this weekend, many for the first time, and it was all to commemorate a newly named stretch of the London Overground. It's called the Weaver Line, and it connects Liverpool Street with Spitalfields, Enfield Town and Chingford. It's been named in recognition of the area's historic textiles trade. Well, locals have been working together to make a woven version of the Overground sign to mark the launch.
At 6, the Princess of Wales announces she has finished chemotherapy and is resuming some public duties.
Is this filming? Hello? Hello?
Kensington Palace releases this very personal film showing unprecedented scenes with the royal family as Catherine describes what she has been through and the impact on her family.
Although I have finished chemotherapy, my path to healing and full recovery is long.
The Princess of Wales says she has completed her chemotherapy treatment and is now focused on remaining cancer-free. In a 3-minute film produced by Kensington Palace, the royal couple are shown in surprisingly intimate scenes in Norfolk with their children. Catherine says her cancer journey over the past 9 months has been complex, scary and unpredictable for everyone. She says she will now resume some public duties but will take each day as it comes. The government is promising the biggest overhaul to buses in a generation. Under new plans, local councils will be able to take control of their bus services and tailor services to suit the needs of their communities. Industry figures say councils could end up shouldering more financial risk if passenger numbers fall. A former police officer has admitted attempted murder after driving his car at his ex-partner and her mother through the window of an undertaker's in the Scottish borders. William McBurney, who was 3 times the legal drink-drive limit, narrowly missed the 2 women. The judge at the High Court in Livingston said McBurney should be under no illusion that he was going to prison for a long time. The inquest into the death of Steve Diamond, who appeared as a guest on the Jeremy Kyle show, has heard from his landlady, who said he was distraught and a broken man after recording the programme. The 63-year-old from Portsmouth is believed to have taken his own life 7 days after filming for the ITV show in May 2019. The supermarket Aldi says it's planning to spend £800 million to ramp up expansion across Britain after record sales and profit last year. As food prices soared, many shoppers turned to cheaper own-label goods, but Aldi's UK boss says it's their premium range, which is now growing faster than anything else.
The actor Idris Elba joined victims' families, police and tech companies at a knife crime summit in Downing Street today. The Prime Minister said he'll double down on measures to tackle the violence. The government wants crimes involving knives to be halved over the next 10 years. 3 brothers have appeared at the Old Bailey in connection with the murder of a 32-year-old mother fatally stabbed at Notting Hill Carnival last month. Cher Maximan was stabbed as she tried to intervene in a fight. The trial is set for February next year. And an unusual plane, which resembles a beluga whale, landed at Heathrow Airport to deliver spare parts. The massive Airbus is named after the mammal. It was carrying parts for a plane which had been grounded since April.